we've seen that a transitive verb combines with two arguments: the subject, which frequently expresses the agent, although not necessarily, and the object, which again not necessarily, but frequently expresses the theme. And we've also seen that these arguments are combined with the verb in a particular order. So the verb combines first with the object and forms a constituent with that, and then the result of that combines with the subject to form a larger constituent. And we've also seen that we would want to associate or express these selectional properties of the verb by representing in the lexicon an elementary tree for the verb that shows these positions for the two arguments. Further, as we've already discussed, the properties of a phrase depend on the properties of the head. So in this case, since the head is a verb, it projects a verb phrase. So in this more elaborate structure, you can see that the lexical category of the head, the V, projects first to this larger constituent, the V bar, and then to an even larger constituent, VP. We've seen phrases, of course, that have heads other than V, so we can have phrases headed by prepositions, PPs, or postpositions also. We've seen that you can have phrases headed by adjectives, so you have adjective phrases. We could hypothesize that phrases might all have a similar kind of structure, the kind of structure we've just seen for the VP. That hypothesis is sometimes called the X-bar schema. So according to the X-bar schema, all phrases have a similar structure to what we've just seen for the VP. One way to represent that is to take a variable to stand for the actual lexical category. So the head, X, which could be V or A, will combine with one phrase and form a constituent X bar. So when V combines with its complement, you get a V bar. If an adjective combined with a complement, you get an A bar. And then the resulting phrase combines with another phrase. So the V bar combines with another phrase, and you would get the VP. Or more generally, an X bar combines with another phrase, and you get the XP. So those two positions for phrases that are inside this X-bar schema have names just for these positions. So the complement of X is the sister to the head, and then the phrase which is higher up in the structure, which is the sister to the X-bar, is called the specifier. So just to summarize, a head, an X, projects two levels of phrase. It projects to an X bar, which can contain the head and the complement of the head, and it can project further to the XP, which would contain also the specifier. So far, we've seen this for verb phrases, but you could come up with a possible hypothesis for the structure of noun phrases along the kind of lines that people have already been considering in class, where a noun phrase would also have a head, N in this case, which would project an N bar, which would contain also the complement of the nominal head, and then it would project further to an NP. So that's one possible structure for nominal phrases. As we've already discussed, in fact, there's an alternative way of looking at nominal phrases, which is to consider that rather than being projections of the noun, they're projections of the determiner. We'll be looking at that in more detail later. In that case, the structure of a nominal phrase, we would actually want to say that it's a DP because it's projected from the D, rather than NP projected from the N. And in the other diagrams that you'll see, I've actually assumed that's the case. So you'll see DPs everywhere. But that's not important for the point here. We're going to look at DPs and NPs later. The point is just that this X-bar schema is intended as a general scheme for phrases of different categories. As it stands, it looks like that schema is not going to allow for all of the variety we've already seen. In particular, it seems in some cases it's going to give us too much structure. So, for example, although a transitive verb takes a complement as well as a subject, we've seen plenty of cases of intransitive verbs, which have subjects but no objects. So we'll assume that that complement position is actually optional. And the specifier position we can assume also may be optional, and so it will depend on the particular properties of the head, whether it occurs with a complement and whether it occurs with a specifier. There are also cases where it seems that the structure that we get from the X-sparse schema isn't actually enough, that we don't have enough positions within the phrase, if that's all there is. So two cases you could already think of are ditransitive verbs, where you actually have 3 arguments to accommodate, and also all these cases of modifiers that we've seen, where it seems you have an unlimited number of modifiers that can be included in a phrase. We'll come back to ditransitive verbs in another class, but we'll get back to modifiers very shortly.
This production is brought to you by the University of Edinburgh.